one thing that I do rate myself is that I didn't give up. There's been so many times where that inner voice came, are you really going to be a trader? Or like, even, full transparency, sometimes I've questioned the strategy and I've said, like, that's just ego, error thought. The proof is in the pudding. You look at the formula, there's people that have become full-time traders, so it's proven. It's all about yourself, your own journey, and overcoming these things, and just being consistent and persistent.
And I'm really big on this. You never really know the cause and effect as to why something's happening. So it's about the perception of what's happening. You might think, for example, Serhat, when you failed the fund the first assessment, right? Your mind could go into all kind of overdrive, like self-image, or maybe I wasn't good enough then. All those doubts can come out. But here you are now, 60K right now, right? You're on a 60K account. You've passed. There is no way on earth, I bet you sit there right now thinking, so disappointed in that first assessment. That's gone now. You don't care. It's like, no. I've moved forward, and you now use that as armor and strength, right? So you never really know the cause and effect as to why something hasn't happened at a period of time or a schedule what you've set. And when I started to understand that, I realized, okay, and if any kind of hurdles, any struggles that I went through after that, I realized there must be something good. So I almost trained my mind after that period. So I'm glad you answered that question, Ibby. I almost trained my mind then to think, right, if something doesn't happen on my schedule, there must be a reason for it.
For yourself, Mark, a question like, how did you become a millionaire exactly when you wanted? Do you reckon you would have destroyed yourself?
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the Inside the Mind. Joined with me, two very special guests and one of our funded traders who has just passed his funded assessment. We're going to be talking about his journey, talking about everything that he's gone through from an emotional perspective, and just overall what he's looking forward to, his ambitions, and just his story, which is incredibly inspiring. I hope you take as much value away from it as possible. So with me joined Mr. Ibby Ansari and the very, very special guest, Serhat. How's it going? Thank you for joining us.
Good, brother. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Well, firstly, congrats. So for myself, and I'm sure Ibby as well, seriously, congrats, man.
Thank you.
And I knew you was getting closer and closer towards it. And I love how calm you've kept yourself throughout that process. But for those that haven't seen much of you in the community or haven't heard of you from the outside, if you was to give us just like a 15, 30 seconds, just kind of synopsis of where you are in your journey, how long you've been trading, I think that'd be a great place to start.
Sure. So I joined Falcon in October 2019, and it took me a couple months to really get stuck in. I probably was a bit dilly-dallying, which has been sort of the story of my life with trading, because up until then, the best way I could describe my relationship with trading was I was always flirting with the idea of becoming a full-time trader. I always wanted it, but I was never fully committed. And I come across Falcon, and the strategy resonated with me. I'm someone who likes less is more, very simple, and that's the way Falcon strategy is traded. But not only that, the other aspect that captivated me to Falcon was the coaching and the mentoring that you guys offered. At the time, as far as I'm aware, there was no other organization offering that, so that was a win-win situation for me. And when I joined in January 2020, I believe it was the meetup we had in London. So
I remember.
Yeah, so I came down to that, and at the time I spoke to one of the coaches, and I was like, look, I'm really interested in coaching, because in the past, when I was sort of like being self-taught, trading and reading books, I come across this podcast where this guy interviewed retail traders, and like one common theme throughout all of that was each and every one of them had coaching. So they had a coach or mentor, someone who had been through the journey that they've gone through. And I just said to myself, like, I want that. So, matching up with Falcon just made that happen. And not just with trading, but I think in any sort of area, when you are being coached by someone who has sort of been through the ropes and has led that journey and experience will definitely add value and benefit you in a massive way. So I was really, really excited to do that. And I don't know if you remember when it was question time, you guys asked, what's your goals? And I was the first one to say I want to be a full-time trader by the end of the year.
Mhm.
And obviously 2 years later now, I'm literally like within like a reach away from it. So the one sort of key takeaway from that is just don't give up and just persist until you succeed, as Mark always says. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to be in this position and grateful to be in this great community and surrounded by amazing people.
Honestly, love that. That's so. And I remember that. I remember that first meetup in London, and I remember speaking to you outside as well because
Yeah.
the venue was really nice. And I remember these sort of vivid. These moments are so important for me because it's actually moments like that that I remember always the specific details because I actually look forward to. Certain things people say and almost imagining right in a year from now, however long that person is committed to do, it's moments like this that we can look back on that because then all of the trials and tribulations, all the difficult periods, all the tough times, that just kind of goes out the water then because you've got that little moment of, I put myself out there and I said, I'm going to make it happen. Yes, it didn't happen on the exact timeline, but you was brave enough to put it out there in the first place. But you could have stayed quiet and gone, I'll just kind of blend in. I won't really say much, but you just put yourself out there. And honestly, I commend you for that. And we appreciate all the kind words as well. You've been a pillar of the community literally since you've joined. You've always gone above and beyond to, share your experiences, whether it's been on webinars. You've always done that, and I really, really respect that. Speaking of mentoring and coaching, of course, joined with us is your coach Ibi Ansari. How's it going your side?
Good, all good. Just delighted hearing this, man. Really am.
Yeah. So, what's your kind of thoughts? You've had more of that one-to-one experience with Serhat, seeing him grow, seeing where he's currently at from his trading perspective. Any questions for you to Serhat?
Well, before that, I mean, there's a 19-day difference in that. Like when we started, I think there was just there was a lack of consistency and definitiveness behind entries. And then literally within a month or so, we got the criteria in place, everything laid out step by step. It took a little, did it take you a little bit? Because I actually don't know the answer to this. Did it actually take you time to get used to that new criteria?
Yeah, it took me a bit of time. I had to get used to it, and obviously I was a bit more cautious with it because it was something new. But it definitely added so much more clarity to what I had before. If you remember my trading plan before that to what it is now, there's just no room for error. It's just black and white. I know what I'm doing. It's very simplified, so that does help, and it allows you to focus more on now the sort of psychology and the emotional aspect of entering a position, managing a position, and closing a position. So I think that's really, really helped me excel in my assessment.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it as well, because of course it's not like straight after coaching call number one that everything just went like smooth, right? No. That's not the goal of it. In fact, actually, sometimes before things get better, they get worse, right? And it's the same with your health as well. Sometimes when you're trying to fix a health issue, like they'll always tell you this in Chinese medicine as an example. It's like an old saying that things get worse before they get better. I believe the same in trading as well, because like when I deployed my first new trading plan, it was really rocky at the start. It'll be the same thing when you scale up as well. It'll be a little bit rocky, but then you might feel like you're going 10 steps back, but you're only going 3 steps back to go 10 steps forward. Yeah. It's like the elastic band theory, right? It's the same exact thing. But here's the thing, when you've got that criteria now, you've got, like you said, you know exactly what you're looking for. It's black and white. It starts a little bit rocky because you weren't looking at the market that simplistically before, right? With that kind of criteria to operate within. Now that you've got that, you're now saying, okay, I can operate within confines, as I say. Then over time, the mistakes that you make, they've got substance to them, haven't they now? Because now you can look back at the prior week or 2 weeks and think, right, these are the trades that I took. Very black and white. Were they trades that shouldn't have been taken or should not have been taken? You assess, repeat, assess, repeat, assess, repeat. Then you get to this stage. Do you know what I mean? So what was that assessment process for you like? Was it easier to assess your trades then than it was 6 months ago?
Yeah, because I was understanding it a lot more, where I needed to get in and what I was doing. And, I wasn't 100% perfect because I was still taking maybe some trades, which when I ASR'd maybe I could have left it alone because it fell a bit more on the valid side. And I was looking for maybe those like higher probability setups to give me a better edge in the market to obviously reach my goal. So yeah, it was easier to ASR and understand, and that then enabled me to take less of those kind of trades and be a lot more patient in the markets and just wait for the right moments.
That's solid that you mentioned that, man, because I think what people misconstrue is that from the outside they're looking and think that everything we teach is just purely psychological, but it's not, right? Like in the coaching call structures, I'm sure it's the same for Abdu as well, because it's just trading is what it is. You've got to look at things technically before anything else first. You've got to do a technical assessment before you go into the psychology. Like we spoke about recently, right? We're going to jump on soon to see, okay, how can you manage the emotions now that you've passed? It's the main thing. There's no point coaching you to get past, and then you get past and you experience all these new emotions that you've never felt before, then you give it back.
Yeah.
Right. This is the difference between like our fund, not in a biased way, it's just the truth, it's reality, compared to other funds. They don't actually give you that in the moment support. I think is very, very needed. Nothing wrong with that as well. That's not a reflection of your capacity or ability as a trader at all. In fact, it's the best, most efficient way you can maintain capital, which is the main goal here, right? So initially it was okay, technically getting everything fixed now. Now you obviously know what you're doing, because passing on this particular fund is a lot more, I'd say it requires a lot more skill compared to just on any other fund because of the criterion where it's shaped up. So there's a less likelihood of it being a fluke, which means that 9 out of 10 times you know what you're doing, hence you wouldn't have passed. Now that you have passed, and it's a reflection of, again, your ability and your skill very clearly, it's like, okay, now the next stage now is going to be psychological focus now, is how do you, knowing what you already know, maintain that and scale up? And our question for you, now that you've passed and all of that charge, that emotionally that you put on passing, that you finally done it, obviously it's a feeling of very overwhelming, like excitement, right? But how personally, before we speak, are you looking to manage that excitement?
So the thing is, I do a lot of visualization and manifestation meditation. So even this situation right here, right now, like I've been here before in my mind. I know Falcon have always done podcasts, not necessarily on YouTube, but I believe it was on SoundCloud, and even I used to listen to your podcast as well, like years ago, and I would say to myself, like, that's going to be me one day. I'm going to be on like Falcon FX podcast and share my journey and tell everyone. And with passing the fund, like in my mind, I've always meditated. I've seen myself as a funded trader, and like I've taken in that energy. So the way I behave, the way I move like a funded trader. So as much as it is exciting knowing that I've passed, I've not got like this massive energy feeling like, because at the same time, psychologically, I don't want to put it too much on a pedestal, because I feel like if I do that now, then every time I scale up, it's going to be the same thing. So I'm just trying to focus on myself being the asset, the processes I do day in, day out, that's going to take me there. Like, the geese and the golden egg story in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, focus on, being the asset, not the outcome. So it is exciting, and I'm grateful that I'm in this position. And it's nice to know that I've gone through like an emotional roller coaster, because it has been an emotional roller coaster, because the first fund was a massive the first assessment I took, which I lost, was a massive eye opener for me, because my ego got the better of me, and it was crazy. And like some of the trades I was taking weren't really matching my plan, and I was closing trades manually because another trade hit the stop loss, and then that trade kind of went in a direction that I thought it would. And when I was experiencing that, I just said to myself, I'm like being too emotional and it's affecting me psychologically. So I had to sort of like take a step back, and losing the fund was probably a good thing that happened to me. And then that's when I decided I wanted to jump on coaching call with yourself, and we worked, we had a plan, we set goals, and we worked through it, and that's really helped me second time round. And the other important factor was the belief you showed so much belief in me that I didn't have. Like, you know, obviously you see my journal, you see my trade, you see the way I am emotionally. And you know, when we was having our calls, I remember you talking about, yeah, you'll be trading, you know, 350k by the end of the year, and you're saying it so confidently. I'm sitting here thinking like, is he crazy? Like, me trade that? And it's just rubbed off on me, because even with so this assessment that I've passed, I had a very long losing streak, and I spoke to a lot of members in the meetup about it, and I described it as like a relegation battle, because I was like 1% away from hitting my drawdown. And I did two things. I accepted, if I lose, what's the worst that's going to happen? You know, I'll go back to the drawing board and get back on the fund again. No big deal. The second thing was, I said, you know what? I believe in me that I can turn it around. So I had that belief, and yeah, I just went for it and stuck to my plan, my processes, and you know, I managed to turn it around, and now I've passed, and it's something I'm very proud of and excited about. And it's good because it's not a fluke. I've not taken, all my trades have not been winners and banked, you know, double digits. I've had to go through a roller coaster. So now I've experienced that. If I come across the same situation, which, you know, we're not going to win all our trades. We have to learn to be good winners. I feel like I have the experience to deal with that psychologically and emotionally.
Mark, what do you notice so clearly here that I notice as well is clearly, sir, how your self-image is completely different to the first time round.
Yeah.
What trade did you pass the first time? Go on, Mark.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, and it's very similar. If you watch the podcast of another one of the funded traders that passed Q, and he was talking about, if you've listened to that one, so him talking about visualization, right? It stuck out when you said it to me straight away. I already see myself as a funded trader, so I move and behave like a funded trader. I think that is one of the key standouts already for anyone listening to recognize that there's a reason why we talk about self-belief so much, and I'm so glad that it rubbed off on you. And I think the importance, that was the question I was going to ask you about, what's your experience like of having so many people kind of celebrate wins with you, push you? Because remember, that's not a normal environment for other people to kind of be very supportive, and not kind of fake supportive, like genuine, like, yeah, like he's made it happen, like they're inspired by it. That's a very, very interesting feeling for people that have not experienced that, which is why I'm a big believer in, when you're around the right people, just like when Ibby's talking to you about the 350K, your mind, that inner dialogue might go, no, that's not that. And then eventually, because someone who's done it is already doing it and is scaling up, because they're used to those emotions, it's very normal for us to talk about those numbers and figures and much higher. So then that just rubs off on you, because it just becomes normal. The same way they say, if there's 5 millionaires in a room and then you spend time with them, you become the sixth. You can't not adopt the traits, the mindset, the behavior, and it just happens. How's that been for you, having so many people celebrate the wins with you? Firstly,
it's very infectious, and it's obviously very genuine. Like, this community is next to none, and that's one of, I think, Falcon's USPs, just to have so many like-minded people. You know, there's no egos, everyone's supporting each other. You know, someone passes, everyone's on the chat, congratulations, well done, you're gonna smash it, etc. Like, it's really good. And you know, with Q, I managed to bump into him on the speed dating round on the recession workshop, and got speaking to him. He's a lovely guy, and I congratulated him, and I was sort of like asking him, you know, how were your emotions, how did you feel? And you know, he explained and how he sort of managed it. So and I did watch his podcast as well, and he's also very big on you know, the whole visualization and meditation thing, and so am I. So we kind of connected in that way. But yes, it's really good to know you got people supporting you and they're genuinely there for you. And likewise, I would always want to be there for people in the community. And you know, I've always wanted to as well be active in the community, but there were times where I was not being consistent with it, and it was sort of like self-sabotaging because I weren't doing it, and I wanted to, because with Falcon, the principles is always giving back that good energy. So when I am sort of full-time and free, I definitely want to be more involved in the community and help out anyone who's got any questions, anyone that is sort of ready or getting close to starting their fund. If they want to hit me up, I'm here, and a few people have anyway, so it's all good.
So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's a big part of it. First and foremost, you have to focus on yourself, right? So at the same time, we of course we love people giving, going above and beyond, but it's imperative, you focus on yourself, because the more you focus on yourself, that you get to those levels, there may be milestones and you want to get to for yourself, for self achievements, and then you share something. You give back at the right times that's relevant for you, and I think that's key of what you've done. But the self image, as you said, it stands out a mile off. It's like it's crazy how much that affects us day to day, like the way we think about ourselves, the words that we used to say, what we talk, that inner voice. It's massive, and I've seen that shift in you hugely. I even remember certain webinars that we've got recorded, that we'll be able to get the clip up. I'm sure I will be able to find them, of certain things that you've said and participated in, that I think you would really enjoy watching back, to see who you was there and who you are now. So big props to you for that.
Thank you. And for anyone in the community that may be struggling, because I struggled a lot with consistency, and it was a lot to do with sort of like, my mental health. And because I've been around trading for a long time and I've been through so many like pitfalls, things that I shouldn't have done, and it's kind of left a bad residue in my mentality. So it was like getting rid of that. Just to give you an example, like, I would take a trade and it would be a loss, and I wouldn't want to look at the chart for a week, because it was like self-sabotage, you're not good enough. But one thing that I do rate myself is that I didn't give up. There's been so many times where that inner voice came, are you really going to be a trader? Or like, even, full transparency, sometimes I've questioned the strategy and I've said, like, that's just ego, error thought. The proof is in the pudding. You look at the formula, there's people that have become full-time traders. So it's proven. It's all about yourself, your own journey, and overcoming these things, and just being consistent and persistent. So I'm proud of myself for not giving up and persisting. As we mentioned earlier, 2020, that was my goal, to be a full-time trader, and it didn't happen, but I continued. Even I think at the beginning of the year, it was Q1 where I wanted to pass my assessment, but it didn't happen. But it's happened now. So, just don't be disheartened. Just keep pushing and keep going.
Everything goes to the universe's plan, not ours. It's a plan that I'd much prefer to go through with than my own. If everything went to our own plan, then life would be boring and we'd destroy ourselves. Like for yourself, Mark, a question like, how did you become a millionaire exactly when you wanted? Do you reckon you would have destroyed yourself?
It's an interesting one, right? Because we all have these timelines of when we think that we're going to achieve a certain goal, whether it be you want to be a millionaire, you want to be full-time, whatever it is. I think it's very difficult in the moment to accept that something's not happened on a rough timeline or a schedule, because why wouldn't you? Let's say, I remember setting goals of 21, thinking, right, 21, I'm a millionaire. I'm starting at 18 years old. There's no way it's taking me more than like 3 years. I've got this figured out. Even in a couple of years, I'll probably do it. So then when it happens and you realize I know absolutely nothing, that can really, really harm you. And I think it's really only enjoyable once you're on the other side to realize and appreciate that it didn't happen at that time. Because what if I emotionally wasn't mature enough, right? In the sense that I might have got a certain amount of results. I might have started making money a lot quicker, but the chances of going into crazy self-sabotage could have actually set me back in the future, right? So, and I think the big part about is I'm really big on this. You never really know the cause and effect as to why something's happening. So it's about the perception of what's happening. You might think, for example, Serhat, when you failed the fund the first assessment, right? Your mind could go into all kind of overdrive, like self-image, or maybe I wasn't good enough then. All those doubts can come out. But here you are now, 60K right now, right? You're on a 60K account. You've passed. There is no way on earth, I bet you sit there right now thinking, so disappointed in that first assessment. That's gone now. You don't care. It's like, no. I've moved forward, and you now use that as armor and strength, right? So you never really know the cause and effect as to why something hasn't happened at a period of time or a schedule what you've set. And when I started to understand that, I realized, okay, And if any kind of hurdles, any struggles that I went through after that, I realized there must be something good. So I almost trained my mind after that period. So I'm glad you answered that question, Ibby. I almost trained my mind then to think, right, if something doesn't happen on my schedule, there must be a reason for it. And it's hard to accept that in the moment when you really get present with it and you start thinking, right, so if it's not happened for me, why?
Yeah.
Is it because my mindset's not ready for it yet? Is it I'm not emotionally mature? Is it because I'm actually not skilled enough as what I need to be yet? With not from like a negative point of view, but just more of a tangible, actionable step to like, right, go improve your skill then. And I think that to me was a huge superpower of not focusing on timelines and deadlines and just recognizing you have to have something to aim for. You can't just go, right, I'm just going to make it happen whenever. There's nothing wrong with setting a goal, end of the year, I'm going to be a 6-figure trader, if anyone's listening. It's the attachment you have to it if it doesn't happen on that timeline. That's the big thing. So I've been able to use that and go, right, this is the aim. This is what we're going for. But I don't judge myself I don't bring my self-image into it of I've not done it. Maybe I'm not good enough. That's not even there. That doesn't exist because you never really know the cause and effect as to why something's happening. So I used it more as a teacher rather than, right, it's not happened for me yet. And I think that was huge. So if it would have happened for me earlier, who knows? I could have gone into crazy self-sabotage. I might have spent more on things that I never had. I'd come from humble beginnings. I might have been more inclined to think, oh, I want 4 cars instead of 3 or something. Well, anything could have happened, right? So I'm glad it took me longer to actually make more money and build the wealth because now I can sustain it. So I can come from a position of, I know my ratios, everything that we've spoken about in the recession workshop, all of that stuff. It's very difficult to go broke once you've built up these skill sets and ratios and numbers, and you've got these structures in place. It's so much easier to just carry on sustaining wealth. I don't think I would have had that maturity if it happened earlier.
Definitely. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm really glad you mentioned that actually, because I think one thing we have to understand about the construct of this entire universe, right? And we don't know all about it yet, but as human beings, we're not designed to be able to comprehend everything, right? We can't comprehend the incomprehensible. It's just we're not designed that way. Out of all the animal kingdom, we're the only ones that have actually got free will, right? A dog can always be a dog, a cat can always be a cat, a tree can always be a tree, but humans can be anything we put our minds to. Literally, we have the capacity, we've got the free will. But the problem that comes with that free will is that we try and comprehend everything, right? So it comes to the Cartesian paradigm, wanting to quantify everything. So what happens is when my first investment failed, 2019, June, summer, right? Mark knows about this. I started it and it was set up in a way where 10% below the balance initially, the account shut off completely and I lost 9 back-to-back trades in a row. I literally thought my life finished. Oh, forget this. All my confidence was gone. Everything was finished. And it's really funny. When I look back at 2019, my trading was disgusting. It was horrible. I would, even if I had finished that investment after 12 months, I promise you wouldn't have kept it. Every account I failed in the past, in the moment, I was thought, this is not good. But then as I failed more and more at certain things, I started to become a bit wiser. I was like, okay, hold on, I'm getting better. Started to notice the correlation. I was like, this is not actually a bad thing, is it? So negativity is a false construct that we were just painting out. It's not real. There's everything about this entire universe is positive. It is. It really is. And we've got to start looking that way. There's no way that the dots don't connect in the end. They always connect in the end. If they didn't, then my trading would have got worse. Because I could have used that and thought, logically, if I failed an investment, 9 losers in a row back to back, I failed 8 accounts in the past, surely someone like that, you think, his equity curve going straight down in life. But it was always going up. I was just in the pullback phase. That's all it was. So when you fail these accounts or whatever, you, as a trader, I think it's not a negative thing to always expect the worst and prepare for it, right? Just in case, because sometimes the worst is actually the best. That's like they say that the mess is in the message. The message is in the mess. Sorry, right?
I think any rational person would give up.
100%.
In trading, including yourself, Sir. Any rational person, if they could walk the shoes of just your exact journey, a rational person would be like, that's just not for me. Money I've invested in my education, money I've lost, they would just add it all up. Just go, a consultant would look at that and go, yeah, bad move. Yet that's the beauty of what we do, is because the rewards are on the other side. Most people can't rationalize it, which is great, because on the other side of that is always that almost, we become very, very big optimists. But on the other side of that, where someone could go, oh, it's naivety or delusion, we tend to be the ones that break through and achieve much bigger goals because of that. It's that belief in yourself that you spoke about earlier. When you got that belief, no one can take that away from you. It's like someone could say, yeah, this doesn't work. All right, I'll keep moving forward. And I think that's the mentality. I remember what Ibby's talking about, Serhat. I remember the voice notes Ibby used to send me. He used to send me so many voice notes when he was going through his journey at his low periods. And I remember so many times when you thought, Ibby, you hit rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when you said to me, rock bottom? You said, oh, I've hit rock bottom. And I said, where is rock bottom?
Exactly.
You know, and I think that was a big shift for you. It's because what we think is like, and I'll link it back to this. Let's say, Serhat, when you failed your first funded assessment, you could have said in your head, that's rock bottom. And then there could be a new low. It's right. Where is the low? Like when you say rock bottom, like none of us know where that is, and there's always something else. And the dangers of that is that if you think there is a rock bottom, if something slightly worse happens to you, your mind can't deal with that because you're like, I was already at the bottom. How can I go lower? So say, for example, you accepted that part of your journey where you said, right, I'm so close to the drawdown. If it happens, I go back. Like you've got the plan. What if you didn't mentalize that in your mind, right? If you didn't actually figure that out, what would have happened? Your mind would have gone, oh, it's a new low. So that could have actually corrupted you. Even if you did fail the second time, it wouldn't actually change the bigger picture. You would have just come back again and you would have been successful in your own time, whether it's the third or the fourth, you would have made it happen. But if you didn't have that conversation with yourself, how many other traders have gone through that and failed in that moment, not being able to come back for it and now indulged in crazy self-sabotage? So it just goes to show you, if you don't prepare yourself mentally, you'll think, right, this is rock bottom. Well, if you go through something like that, it's like a new low and a new low. And I think that can really destroy a person. So it's so interesting to see how you viewed that. You almost prepared yourself in your mind and you've embraced that. It's almost like, I think it's an old proverb. It's like being okay with it if it happens and being okay with it when it doesn't. And that comes with the art of releasing control. It's like when you get so excited about something and you put it up on a pedestal, right, and you're so close to it, your mind goes, yeah, but it's right there. It's right there. I can go full time. It's right there. You almost in that moment have to step right back and go, I'm okay if it happens and I'm okay if it doesn't. And then you go back to equilibrium. You're balanced. You're like, right, okay, this is good. You know, I'm calm. I'm not overly excited, but I'm not upset either. I'm just in a good state. If you found yourself more calmer, because you seem so much more calmer in your trading, your mindset, your energy as well.
Yeah, definitely. And just touching back on what you were saying about putting things on a pedestal, that's exactly what I done with my first funded assessment. I let my sort of ego get the better of me. I felt like because I've been funded now that I've kind of made it to where I want to be. And for me, it was all about passing the fund so I can become a full-time trader. I put that on a pedestal, and I don't know if you remember, we kind of had this conversation in our calls. And second time round, what I did was detach from the outcome and not put anything on a pedestal and be patient. And that's a very important word that I want everyone listening who wants to apply for the fund and go through the process is patience. Because the first time round, I was so impatient, like I just wanted to pass and be quick about it. So all my sort of composure just kind of went out the window. And the good thing is, obviously, it was a lot of pain I went through, and you know, Q spoke about pain in his recent podcast, and it's about learning from that. If you're not going to learn from it, if you're not going to ASR all your trades, your mentality, your psyche going through that, you're not going to move forward. So doing all of that has really helped me and prepared me for this time to be able to be more fully focused and really put my energy to the important things that I need to. And it's just like law of attraction. When you want something so bad, it creates a resistance. So you just have to let it go and accept you're already there and believe that you've already got it. And yeah, you're living as that person.
It's amazing. I love it. Honestly, that mindset, I could talk about that all day long. You just come, I think it was Jim Carrey that said it really wisely, which was, I've already achieved these things. I'm just collecting them at a later stage.
Yeah.
Right. That mindset, I'm telling you, if more traders could adopt that mentality, so much more good things would happen for them. Because, you know, Ibby was talking about earlier about your identity, right? Your self-image that has changed. And that's been a huge effect on, there's a reason why you are where you are. Image. because someone with a poor image, like someone who is skill sufficient, like very, very skilled, but poor image, won't be successful. They just can't, because their image will always hold them back. So they could be technically savvy. You could jump on a call with them and they could break down the charts and you could go, oh, this person's switched on. But then in front of a trading account, when there's money involved and there's emotions and they think of themselves as a failure, they've got no confidence, they can't execute. So it doesn't matter what they know. They could know all the knowledge in the world, they just can't execute. So that's why there will always be, I would say, a ceiling. There isn't no magic number, but it's probably roughly anywhere between 0 to like 50K. Most people with a poor self-image could trade up to a certain amount, right? But when you start to go higher than that, 60, 70, 80, hundreds, and you start hitting into the six figures, that's when like things come to the surface. Well, that's why I'm not a big fan of all of these challenges of people going from 0 to 100 too fast, because statistically they give it back very quickly because they've not built the mindset, because their self-image wasn't there in the first place. I'm glad you've done so much work and you take meditation seriously, your visualizations. I believe that's going to play a vital role in the next stages for you on your journey. Now, and I'm curious on that part. What is now the next stage for you, right? You've gone through the process, you're calm about it, you know the risk, what you need to stick to. What's the game plan for you now that you've hit this milestone, moving towards six figures?
So the next step for me would be to just go through all of my trades that are in the assessment phase, just ASR them again, just go through everything, look at all the losing trades that I've taken and just maybe highlight them so I know what I shouldn't be taking. Once I've done that, I've not really got stuck in with AFT yet. I've kind of been shadow trading it, but what I want to do is backtest that, gain confidence in it. I know it works, but I want to experience it myself, backtest it, see it with my own eyes, and then that's going to give me even more of an edge, and then I can start implementing it when I'm trading. And other than that, I'll probably just maybe focus on the remainder of the year, like where I want to be at the end of the year. So my next goal would be to achieve six figures by the end of the year. And so that would be the next process for me. And also I recently rejoined Falcon FX Live. I used to be part of it a while back, and I decided to rejoin. Wanted to be more involved with it. Obviously I've not had it when you and Abdu have been doing it, so I'm quite curious. Spoke to a few members at the meetup, they spoke highly of it as well. So I want to get stuck into that, and obviously more coaching calls with Ibi, maybe some more cold showers, ice baths.
No, that's awesome. Seriously, I'm glad you got the roadmap, you got the game plan, which is really, really sick. And it's now just about moving up to that next stage. That is literally it.
Yeah.
What sticks out to me, I'm sure it does for you as well, Ibi, is that you've not even rushed into AFT yet. And that's the sick thing about it, is that someone could come in as a student for 2 months and they're already all over AFT. Right? They're not skill sufficient yet, but they're in AFT, right? Going into the advanced stuff. Yeah. You just passed your funded assessment. You're at 60K. Look at the difference in the thinking of pace, of staying in your own lane. You've not got ahead of yourself. You know there's ridiculous returns to make, but you're not rushing that. You're taking your time with it because you're mastering the simple things to a higher level. Because why are you going to go to these lower time frames if you've not yet mastered the higher time frames? So I'm really pleased. And there seems to be a common pattern with most traders that are getting to the next level, that they all have something, a high correlation. They're all going at their own pace. And this is a prime example that slow is fast. So you've actually progressed so much quicker than someone else who's tried to go too fast. They burn out. And that's where they come with that mindset of, oh, the strategy didn't work for me. And all these weird things come into their head. In reality, you just got on with it. You don't care. You stay in your own lane and you move forward. And I think that's the sick thing about that.
I mean, for me, obviously I know AFT's there, and I've seen how it has improved performances. And it's just patience. I know it's there, and like when I'm ready, obviously, because I was trading the assessment fund and I was getting to a period where I'm reaching my max trading 30 trading days, I just wanted to sort of focus on that. I didn't want that to sort
Hmm.
of sort of sway my mind and start thinking, oh, maybe if I do this, but just one step at a time. So passed the assessment, which I've achieved. So now it's just, ASI everything, reflect on it, highs and lows. What can I take from that, and then move forward, more coaching calls, and then eventually I want to start looking into that, back testing it, gaining confidence with it, and then start implementing it into my trading. Besides the fund, I'm also trading like small capital of my own money as well. So I'll be looking to implement that with that fund as well. So yes, it's just being patient, not rushing, taking your time, enjoying the process.
Love that.
And the
That's
journey.
so sick. I can't wait to have the conversation at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Right. I'm so curious to see where you're at.
yeah,
You've got your goals,
yeah,
you know what you're moving towards. It's gonna be
yeah.
so sick.
And like the idea of obviously, being part of a virtual floor, that's
Hmm.
very captivating. One of my whys, the reasons why I want to trade. So just briefly, just to give you a quick background. Um, so when I was at uni, I studied business management, and I really wanted to get involved with investment banking and working in the financial markets. And I graduated with a first class degree, but I graduated from a university that was not very high in the sort of university list. So when I was applying to lots of huge banks, the big banks, small banks, I was getting like just rejections, and then I just sort of felt like, what, I can do this myself. I don't
Hmm.
need to be part of a big bank to trade on their floor. I can trade my own capital. And one thing that did stood out, I was fortunate enough to do like a 6 months internship at Deutsche Bank in Turkey. This was with their equity research, so it's more
Hmm.
so analyzing stocks in the Turkish stock exchange. Um, the head of equity, he's the head. This guy was in the office 12 hours plus. He couldn't go home and say
Hmm.
goodnight to his daughter, and that really stuck out to me. And I said to myself, do I like, as much as I want to be, I was keen to be at the center of what's happening in the global economy. It was very fascinating. That really stood out, and from then on, that's how my one of the whys of my forex journey. Other than that, it's obviously, you know sort of breaking a generation of getting on the property ladder. My family, we've all lived in council housing, so I want to get on the property ladder and get into property development as well. So these are like my main whys, as well as the freedom and to be able to travel and explore the world, live in different cultures. So to be able to pass an assessment and fund private capital, that's a massive achievement for me. So I'm really happy to be here and to have achieved that. So
That's a sick story, man. I didn't even know that. That's insane.
yeah,
12-hour shifts.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy.
This guy's
Doesn't
the head. He's not like an analyst. He's the top guy in the office, and he couldn't go home because so much work.
That's not even
doesn't
a life you want to live, is it?
No.
doesn't it goes to show you why you got to look at these things holistically? Like sustainability is why we
Mhm.
talk about. It doesn't matter about what returns you make. If your returns are glued to the screen all day long, you're in the same boat again.
Yeah.
You're a slave to the markets. You've gone from an employee to the market. Nothing's really changed, and it becomes very toxic. So to
Mhm.
build something that is sustainable, you got the freedom and you can do it. And after those rejections, I'm sure we're going to be seeing you on the floor. I'm actually heading to Dubai tomorrow. So
Wow.
no,
Yeah.
tomorrow's Saturday. So I'm heading to Dubai Saturday, and I've got lots of business to do out there, and it's all linking to all of that bigger picture. So
Wicked.
for us personally to be able to see that for you at these stages, knowing that that's so close, it's sick for us, because it's like, for me, that's just one step closer of another person that can be moving towards that bigger mission of what Falcon is doing, virtual trading floor, making massive impact, big change. And that kind of leads me just to the last and final question as we finish up. Any words of wisdom for anyone in the community? I'm sure they'll be very inspired by your stories. You just got the mentality to get on with it. What would you say to anyone wherever they're at their journey right now?
Um, I would say the big thing is being patient, because patience will solve a lot of the small problems that you would face, such as FOMO, entering trades too early, um, and rushing especially this process, which is a delicate process, and it's designed for you to take your time. You know, the fund gives you a year to hit 30 active trading days, so you've got all the time in the world. So you know, use that to your advantage. There's no need to rush. These sort of second words of wisdom, I know you know, not everyone may be in the position financially, but to utilize the coaching and mentoring that Falcon FX offer is very valuable. Even if it's one call, you're going to take away a ton of value just from that call, and it's going to help you level up. Yeah, those are the two things that I can think of at the moment. I would recommend.
Love that. Thank you so much, Serhat. Seriously, well, myself and Ibi as well, seriously proud of what you've achieved.
Thank you.
It's such a sick feeling to see you experience that.
Yeah.
And what sticks out to us again, self-image and calmness. I can't wait for you to tick off some bigger and bigger goals. So to be able to see your journey at the first meetup to then the meetup recently we had in London, honestly, always bringing the energy, always moving forward, always helping others. So no, congrats, soaking that moment, and let's move forward. And thank you so much for taking the time to jump on with us and inspire so many other people in the community as well.
You're
really
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. It's a big pleasure to be on here on the podcast.
I love it. You absolutely smashed it as well. Thank you, Ibi, as well, and being such a great part of Serhat's journey as well. I'm sure it's incredible for you to see that as well.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Love it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode of Inside the Mind. Really hope you enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed going through this conversation. I'm sure there's going to be so many follow-up questions that come with that. And I'm sure we'll be having Serhat on the podcast in the very near future. So thank you so much. And we'll catch you on the next episode of Inside the Mind. Boom. That was sick.